Hello, welcome to another episode of Behind the Tweet, the video series where I tell you the true stories behind some of the tweets of mine that have taken off for one reason or another. Today I have a tweet from just a week or so ago. I was watching Beauty and the Beast with my 6-year-old. When it got to the part where Gaston fell to his death, she laughed. She'll handle herself just fine around men. Alright, so this tweet is true, more or less. I had to change one detail, and by change, I mean I screwed it up. So this incident happened on our 10-ish hour drive to Minneapolis from Indianapolis, the joining of the Isses, I guess. That's probably not something I should say ever. But anyway, we drove up there for family after a brief detour through Iowa, and we left at 7:30 in the morning and ended up getting up there close to 9 o'clock at night. I'm not sure what the total travel time was, factoring in the stop in Iowa and the time change, but it was somewhere around a million years. I didn't think that trip was ever going to end. And the only reason we were able to maintain our sanity at all was we were playing videos the whole time for the kids. Disney movie after Disney movie with some Star Wars mixed in there, which I guess Disney is now owned by Star Wars. So it was all Disney all day, pretty much. There was nothing but Disney. And one of the last movies we watched, actually the last movie we watched, was Beauty and the Beast. And the way the timing worked out, it was right as we got to my aunt's house up there, the movie ended. So this was moments before concluding our never-ending trip. And I screwed up one detail on there. It wasn't my 6-year-old that said it. It was my 4-year-old, Lucy. Kids blend together after a while. I never call them the right name in person. I cycle through 6 or 7 names to get the right name, even though I only have 4 kids. Sometimes you have to cycle a few times and throw in pet names to get it right. Sometimes you throw in names that aren't even names at all. Sometimes they're just sounds or exclamation marks or whatever else. And sometimes with jokes, I'll change characters anyway. If my 2-year-old says something, a lot of times I'll move it up to the 4-year-old because the 2-year-old says it in broken caveman English, which doesn't come across terribly well on Twitter. So I'll just give the lines to the 4-year-old and, give her real regular English or English as I speak it, which might not be quite real English, but is more or less understandable to some of you. I was an English major. It doesn't mean I can speak. I mean, I can type a little bit. I'm basically a glorified typist. If I had gone into a secretarial career, I would be awesome. I would probably be a better secretary than I ever will be whatever I am right now. Guy who talks in front of a camera and tweets. I don't think that's a real job. I don't even think that's a hobby. I think what that is a cry for help. But anyway, so my 4-year-old actually said this line, not my 6-year-old. I didn't intend to move it up, but I got inside. I was waiting for some frozen pizza to cook after not eating any meals all day, just subsisting on 50 billion calories of snacks. And I got the number wrong. I tweeted it, and I thought, you know what? We're just going to leave it. I'm not redoing this. I am done with everything for the day. And then I started drinking, which was the right decision. And in general, anytime you're not driving, it's the right decision to start drinking, especially if you've been dealing with kids all day. So right before we got there, right before we got to that house, my kids are watching, and Gaston, in that famous animated Disney scene, he's fighting with the Beast, and fisticuffs. I don't think they have swords. At some point he's got like a big jagged rock. I don't know if he broke it off of a gargoyle or something. Again, I wasn't actually watching the movie. I was listening to the movie. I don't know if you've ever listened to 6 Disney movies in a row. It starts to make you question your sanity. So I was just reconstructing these scenes in my head. We couldn't, the kids aren't all old enough to use headsets, so we had to play the sound over the car stereo. And so we couldn't listen to anything else. Literally all my wife and I could do was listen to these Disney movies. And so as we're listening to Gaston fight for his life and try to kill the Beast or whatever the heck they were doing back there, my 4-year-old starts to laugh hysterically as Gaston cries out in pain and gets tossed off this French castle or chateau or whatever it is and plummets to his death. Or we assume his death. I mean, I know Disney likes to bring back characters. All of a sudden, Darth Maul is alive again, and then I think he gets killed off a second time, like in the TV series. I don't know. I've never heard of Disney bringing back Gaston, but I would not put it past him. So my 4-year-old is laughing hysterically at this guy's death wail. And in case there's any doubt, my wife and I look at each other like, did she really just do that? My 4-year-old then goes, that was the funny part. So clearly she finds pleasure in people plummeting and being terrified and going splat. Or assumed splat. I guess we never actually see the splat. Disney did deprive us of that. So, am I concerned? Am I worried that she's a psychopath and delights in the pain of others? Maybe a little bit. But it was Gaston. I mean, come on. Like, if she had delighted in the death of, like, some good character who we all want to stay around, like if she saw Yoda, fade away and she laughed at that, like that would be tragic. By the way, I apologize for spoilers if you haven't caught up on that movie since, the 1980s. Yes, Yoda does die and fade away. I'm sorry if I've ruined your childhood. If you were saving Return of the Jedi for just the right moment. I guess for that matter, I ruined Beauty and the Beast as well. But you know what? It's a fairy tale that's like 200 years old. So I feel like the statute of limitations has expired on that one. So in the cartoon version of this, though, Gaston has no redeeming qualities whatsoever. He is pretty much the worst person ever to live. Other than when it comes to spitting contests and growing chest hair, at which he is very prodigious, and that is greatly admired by all the French townsfolk. But to you and I, the lay movie watcher, the guy is basically a monster. He is a chauvinist jerk. He's pushy. He's he's basically trying to get his way with the ladies, and he's exactly the kind of person you want to fall off a cliff. So when I heard her laughing at him in particular falling off a cliff, I thought, you know what? This is okay. If her reaction to a male chauvinist pig is that it's okay for them to fall off cliffs, I feel like she has a healthy view of relationships. I feel like I don't need to worry about her on the dating scene. When she's 16 or 18 or 30 or whatever point, I calm down enough to help her get out there. And at that point, I feel like I'm not going to have to give a speech to the boys because I don't need to worry about it. My 4-year-old, who will then be, a teenager or whatever, she will be able to take care of herself. If she can visualize this guy falling off a cliff, and if necessary, take the steps to make that happen, I can just be a hands-off dad. She's got this under control. So congrats to Lucy for being wiser about relationships than I am. Congrats to Disney for giving us what should have been an emotionally scarring scene that actually amused our children. And congratulations to all of you for watching all the way to the end of this. I was about to thank you, and maybe I should also thank you for doing that. So please hit the subscribe button if you want to hear more stories about what's going on behind these tweets, or if you just want to hear more borderline psychopathic tendencies about my 4-year-old. That actually aren't borderline psychopathic tendencies, that might actually be just positive character attributes. I don't know. All right, catch you next time.